I finally figured out how to speak Spanish fast. It only took a few years, but I am very happy and I'm also very proud of myself because it was a real struggle. I'm very excited to share the tips for you that helped me to stop speaking Spanish slowly and to start speaking Spanish fast. And hopefully you can start speaking Spanish fast a lot sooner than I did. Let's first talk about some reasons for why you may be speaking Spanish so slowly. You are not sure how to conjugate a verb properly. You're not sure if a word should be plural or singular, or whether it should be masculine or feminine. Adjective placement could be making you hesitate a lot as well. So where do I put this adjective at? Should it be in front of a noun or should it be after a noun? Which preposition do I need for this word right now? Is it a? Is it de? Is it con? Is it hasta? Or do I even need a preposition? A lack of knowledge of Spanish grammar or just straight confusion about Spanish grammar and how to word sentences can be a big reason why you're hesitating so much, and it makes it really difficult for you to speak Spanish fast. You may also be speaking Spanish slowly because of Spanish vocabulary. So maybe you don't know how to pronounce Spanish words. If you don't know how to pronounce Spanish words, then of course it's gonna be very difficult for you to be able to speak Spanish fast, right? So there's that aspect of it, and there's also just the lack of vocabulary in general. So maybe you don't have a lot of vocabulary about a particular topic. Then there's also you forgetting vocabulary. Let's say you're trying to speak Spanish about a particular topic and you actually have studied this particular topic a lot, right? So you do know these words, but it's just when you are speaking Spanish, you actually forget a lot of this vocabulary that you have just learned. So that happens a lot. There's also this weird thing about having too many words and too many phrases to say. So I talk about this in another video, but it has to do with, for example, if you know how to say, I'm making this up, 5 different ways to say manzana or 5 different ways to say como estás. So you try to figure out which one to use, and that can make you hesitate a lot and make it a lot more difficult for you to speak Spanish fast. You could also be second guessing yourself a lot. So para dónde irme, para dónde voy, para dónde irme, ir, para dónde irse, para dónde vas, para dónde vas, para dónde vas. Yeah, I think it's that one. I think it can be hard at times to actually figure out that you are second guessing yourself because it's something that we do just so naturally. You don't have enough practice speaking Spanish, and not to just yourself, but also to Spanish speakers. And maybe you have encountered that moment when a Spanish speaker talks to you, maybe like for the first time, and your mind just goes completely blank and you have no idea what to say, so you definitely can't speak Spanish fast, right? So that has happened to me many times, and that's because your brain is just trying to process so much information. Your brain is trying to figure out what did they just say in the first place. Then your brain has to figure out what are you going to say. Do you have a lot of fear and insecurity when it comes to speaking Spanish? Well, if you do, they can definitely impede your ability to speak Spanish fast because you're just only thinking about the fear and insecurity. So why am I rambling on and on and on about all these different reasons for why you may be speaking Spanish slowly? Well, that's because maybe you didn't know that there were that many reasons why. I know for myself, at the beginning of my Spanish speaking journey, I was very confused about why I couldn't. And I didn't really have a lot of knowledge about all these different reasons why. So I was very frustrated, I was confused, I was stressed out, and also I didn't know what to do next. I tried a lot of different things, but they were not working. So now, since I have all this understanding, I know all these different reasons for why I was speaking Spanish slowly, guess what? I was able to start to tackle them one by one. For me, it really just goes to show that as Spanish learners, we can overcome any barriers that we face. As well, I really want you to know that there is nothing wrong with your brain and there's nothing wrong with your mouth, because I thought those two things as well, okay? There's something wrong with me because I can't speak Spanish fast, right? There's something wrong with my mental capability, or whatever the case may be. So I had all these different thoughts. But no, there was nothing wrong with me at all, and neither is there anything wrong with you. But again, we just need to tackle all these reasons for why we can't speak Spanish fast head on. To overcome the barriers of Spanish grammar and Spanish vocabulary when it comes to speaking Spanish fast, you just have to fill in the gaps. So for example, when it comes to vocabulary, what type of vocabulary don't you really know yet? So do you need more descriptive vocabulary? So you need to learn a lot more adjectives, or you need more help with connecting words and connecting phrases. Okay, maybe you need to learn a new grammar rule, or maybe you just have to refresh yourself on a grammar rule. But be very careful with this because you don't have to memorize every single grammar rule that exists in the Spanish language for you to be able to create sentences and to be able to connect them. So be very careful with that. At least that is my opinion. Now, the same thing goes with pronunciation, so fill in the gaps. Are you able to pronounce a lot of things that you are trying to say or that you are reading, or not at all? So try to figure that out and then just kind of go from there. Start learning the foundational pronunciation rules in the language, or if you already know many of them, do a refresher. One thing that's really going to help you learn Spanish pronunciation and increase the amount of vocabulary that you have, and also give you more understanding of Spanish grammar, is having a more immersive approach to learning Spanish. So that is reading books in Spanish, reading news articles in Spanish, reading short stories in Spanish, listening to Spanish music, watching movies and TV shows in Spanish, and also listening to the radio in Spanish, and listening to podcasts as well. I'd recommend buying my Spanish resource kit so you can have a lot of resources that will help you have this more immersive approach to learning Spanish. There are over 60 resources like TV shows, songs, podcasts, and YouTube channels. And especially if you are just trying to learn the basic grammar and pronunciation and vocabulary, there are plenty of YouTube channels that were created by Spanish teachers for Spanish students. So definitely check those out as well. Two other resources that will be helpful for you are my 2 free PDFs, the Spanish Conversation Blueprint and the Spanish Vocabulary Blueprint. And all these are linked down below in the description box. Now, to speak Spanish faster, we are not just going to learn all these rules right and then listen to a lot of content in Spanish, but we have to speak Spanish a lot. And I would say not just speak Spanish a lot, but also for as long as possible. So speak Spanish every single day and speak Spanish for as long as you can throughout the day. Don't try to be perfect when you are doing all this speaking practice. So don't try to have perfect pronunciation or perfect grammar, because perfection does not exist. So just forget about it. As well, that goes back to the fear insecurities, right? So maybe you have a fear of speaking incorrectly. Well, if you want to speak Spanish, guess what? Or speak Spanish faster, you just have to kind of push that off to the side and just say what exactly is coming to your mind. So I also recommend doing that as well. So that's going to help you overcome that barrier of second guessing yourself. Okay, it doesn't have to be, the perfect word match. Just say that first word that comes to your mind and just keep repeating that over and over again. The same thing with pronunciation. Okay, maybe you're not 100% sure how this word should be pronounced, but just pronounce it how you think it should be pronounced. Again, it does not have to be perfect whatsoever. The goal here is to speak Spanish as fast as possible, right? So you have to make sure that you are overcoming all these barriers and just saying exactly what's coming to your mind. And many other videos on my channel here where I was speaking Spanish, you can see me hesitate a lot. And it's because of the many different reasons that I've mentioned throughout this video. So that's why I'm very passionate about it, because I have struggled with these barriers so much. So that's also the very challenging aspect of speaking Spanish fast. It's just, it requires so much dedication. It requires a lot of time, because this is not going to happen, tomorrow, or that you will start to speak Spanish faster, right? It's not going to happen tomorrow, and maybe not, it might not happen for another few weeks or even a few months. So a lot of dedication, a lot of patience, a lot of time, and just being very confident in yourself. I hope these tips help you to speak Spanish faster, and if you are confused about anything, just let me know in the comment section below or shoot me an email.